Hey guys, welcome to BP, the Bible Perspective. I want to share a few thoughts on this question. Was Candace Owens right when she said, I do not support George Floyd? Now, before we get into that, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it in the comment section. All comments are welcome. Well, it was a year ago, in June of 2020, at the height of the George Floyd phenomenon. He was murdered by police officer Derek Chauvin. And by this time, this murder that we saw on video, it caught the world. I mean, it went global. And right at this moment, this is right after the funeral of George Floyd, Candace put out this video where she said, I do not support George Floyd. Now, even though the protests and the Black Lives Matter movement, again, garnered worldwide, which it was amazing, because even Amish were saying Black Lives Matter. Up in Siberia, they were saying Black Lives Matter. And I think the South Pole, they were saying Black Lives Matter. So in the midst of this, Candace struck, and she put out a video. It was like an 18-minute video where she said, I do not support George Floyd. And in it, she said, why are we honoring heroes like this man? And then she lists all of his bad traits, his criminal past, his drug addiction, everything. And she said, why are we honoring this man, or why is this man an icon? I'm going to come back to that thought in a moment. Now, that video got over 8 million hits. So with a huge success, the audience, I think the marketing of it was brilliant in that it hit the audience she intended. So, motives aside, and I think her timing and her motives, I'm not a Candace Owens fan. So, the question then is, was she right in the statement, why are we honoring people like George Floyd? Why are we honoring them, right? And I want to explore that question, because the question was right on. Whether or not, if she had the right motive or the right timing, the question was right on. So when we talk about icons, and I'm going to say that, who are the people we are elevating as icons? Now let's fast forward a year. The police officers were arrested. And as I said, let me make this note. You will know Candace Owens did not talk about Derek Chauvin's 19 complaints against him, one of which a 14-year-old boy he kneed in the neck, but I do digress from that. But fast forward a year, the police have been arrested. Derek Chauvin has been tried, convicted, and now sentenced to some 22 years. And shortly before this comes out, these statues come out of George Floyd. One is in New York and the other one's in New Jersey. So let's ask the question that Candace asked. Why, or let's ask the question, should we honor? See, when you erect a statue in honor of someone, does it now become fair game? See, does it become fair game to now talk about the kind of person they are? Should we say, and I say we should, just like when the 1700 statues of the Confederate flag, the Confederate heroes, right? What kind of men were they? And those statues do not tell the story. Well, of course, when you it's kind of interesting when you look at it, which is funny. The very statue, the bronze statue, the life-size statue where he's sitting, they actually have him in a muscle shirt, not a muscle shirt, but actually a wife beater. I don't want to trash his past right here. I just kind of noticed that he had that, and when you look at the pictures of him with that, those are the images you would have caught him high on crack. Now, here's my point. I'm not here to disparage the dead. Let me just say this so that I will not be misunderstood. My point of raising the question is not to disparage George Floyd in any way. Okay? George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin. And had the police officer done his job, George Floyd probably would have went to jail, would have went through the system, however he would have went to the system. And we would have never known about him. Yes, he had a troubled life, but he didn't deserve to die from that. And that's where I would criticize Candace Owens, because that's the issue she made of. She made the issue of trashing him. But in doing that, she does make a good point about the heroes. And I'm going to ask, what has happened to our activism? I have noticed since the 90s that the civil rights activists, the kind of people that we elevate to icons, are flawed people, in my opinion, that never should be in the spotlight. See, George Floyd should not be in the spotlight like this. Not like this. He was a troubled person. And when you erect a statue like this of him, you open up the door for people to say, what kind of man was he? Here is the thing. George Floyd was murdered, and it was tragic. And that is the issue. Not his life. Not his troubles, his struggles. But when you erect a statue, you're going to open the door for that criticism. Remember this guy? This is Stephon Clark's brother. Look at this. Reverend Al Sharpton doing his brother's funeral. Now, he was shot in the back, and of course it got some national attention. This picture right here, this guy, this brother, they put in front. All right, look at the spectacle here. Okay, he at one point he almost climbed on the pulpit. He was hugging on Reverend Al Sharpton. This is while he was doing the eulogy, by the way. So again, my thing is, why? Why? We need to be careful about the icons that we are going to elevate. Here is another interesting story here. This woman here, her name is, let me see here. Forgot her name here. Let me see. Her name is Claudette Colvin. The reason I wanted to bring her up is she was before. Now, if you see, she's standing up here. This picture here. This picture is she got arrested a short time before Rosa Parks. And the civil rights leaders at the time decided that they wasn't going to go with Rosa Parks. With Claudette Colvin. Now, here are some of the reasons they chose. One, they thought she was a little promiscuous. Now, in other reports, they might have said too, she might have been too dark-skinned. But one of the biggest thing was that they thought, okay, she was a little promiscuous. Now, granted, the time, this was the 50s versus the today, but their rejection because she got pregnant. What is interesting to me is we've come a long way in terms of some of the people that we kind of elevate. People may not remember the Gina 6. The Gina 6 happened in, I think, 2006 in a little small town of Gina, Louisiana. That little small town was swelled with about 50,000 people who marched, but the people that got into a fight. Back in the 90s, Reverend Jesse Jackson went to Decatur, Illinois, and he got involved with defending some gangbangers in a kind of a fight at the football field. One of the worst cases of this is when the Reverend Al Sharpton got involved with a civil rights issue with some horrible thugs who brutally tortured and raped a Haitian immigrant in West Palm Beach, Florida, projects. Here's my point, people. All of these things have in common is that it's one thing to defend them. It's one thing to take up their cause, their unjust cause. But it is another thing is that if these are the faces of the civil rights struggle and movement, we're going to be in trouble. One of the reasons why you see here that they chose Rosa Parks, and some of the reasons I agree, others I don't. But they chose icons that they can say, you know what, let's get behind this struggle right here. She sparked, Rosa Parks sparked really the entire civil rights movement that launched Martin Luther King as the leader of the movement. I think it's time we need to examine who are the icons, who are the people we're elevating to icons, and why. I'm not condemning, I'm not slandering, I'm just asking the question, why? You know, why? Alright guys, that is my perspective. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. As always, all comments are welcome. Till next time, I'll see you then.